So welcome to the Ring, Joe. Absolutely love how this anniversary projects for Tomorrow Joe is heading and just what they're doing with this series. Megalobox episode 2 was such an amazing episode. I'm seriously digging the old aesthetic that this show is bringing to the table. I've seen some people complain about kind of the blurriness that we're seemingly seeing with Crunchyroll's End, and I actually think that just adds to the illusion of this feeling like it was pulled from the 90s and it just got a bit of an upgrade for a Blu-ray box set. I love the old aesthetic and just how kind of fuzzy it looks at times. It literally just feels like you just discovered a gem from the 90s you never knew existed, and now it's becoming everyone's favorite anime. That's how I feel with it. But this episode did more or less what I expected it to do, but it did take some interesting twists that I didn't see coming. Ultimately, we knew Yuri was going to win this fight. There's no way that a stray dog like Junk Dog would be able to come out on top against the champion, but you also knew he would put up a fight because obviously this is a guy who has just an extreme potential to become the champion in his own right. And what I really like is how they're really showing us why this type of boxing is going to be different than what you typically see, because some people have been a little skeptical, like what truly do these suits add to the boxing matches? Does it just increase the strength? Are they just a bit faster? But obviously, depending on your gear, you're going to perform differently, as we can see with Yuri versus Junk Dog. Their suits are completely different. We have a kind of pieced together suit, and then we have the highest of techs with Yuri. And I like how we really get moments in this fight where you can see that it's not just speed and power, it's also just how the body is able to move. Like, there's moments where Yuri is like, he changes his swing in such a non-human way. It's completely robotic, but it shows you what these suits are going to do for these fights, because you really see something that isn't human, but it still relies on human intelligence and human strength. It's just if you know how to use your suit, if you have a good suit, obviously the way the human body is going to move is going to be very robotic, but also superhuman, and that's going to be really cool to see. But I do like how the fight went, because typically when you have like the underdog fighting the champion, a lot of times it's very formulaic, but what I liked is how Yuri immediately gives Junk Dog a handicap. He says, I'm only going to use one of my hands. And typically, when I see something like that happen, I think, oh, here's going to be the arrogant protagonist saying like, you don't need to give me a handicap, I can do this myself. But I like how Junk Dog's like, it's your loss. If you want to fight with one hand, I'll do that. So I actually like how he didn't like say like, how dare you disrespect my honor thinking I'm nothing. He's like, screw it, if the champion's only going to fight with one hand, I mean, that's obviously what the champion would do, but also I'm going to take him up on that. And I like how you see the fight go down with one hand, but then he actually has to use his other hand to stop a blow. And it's nice to see that. You can see, like, there's just massive potential with Junk Dog, but at the same time, he's not even in the same league as Yuri. So it shows you, obviously, this is a guy who is going to be able to train his way up to fight the champion in an actual megaloboxing arena. But I like how they actually went and kind of twisted some of the tropes you typically see. It's nothing massive, but it's enough to set this apart from other boxing anime. And also the whole idea of why Junk Dog's actually going to be able to fight in an actual arena, not some underground where he has to throw the fight, is because his partner, he has a debt. And essentially it's like lose an eye or just actually bluff his way through saying like, oh yeah, my partner Junk Dog, we got this awesome plan to fight in the actual arena. We're going to take out the champion. I'll pay off my debt. So I just like how they actually convince, you know, the person who's pretty much bribing or kind of like holding Junk Dog and his partner hostage, a way to get them into the arena that makes sense but isn't so formulaic like you typically see. And it also makes sense that you need a guy such as the guy holding, kind of pulling the strings to make a fake ID, and also the tie into Joe there was pretty awesome. So I just like how the overall structure of the episode, it gave you that excitement that I think everyone was expecting. It was a very intense match for being one round KO. But still, it gave you that adrenaline. It showed you why the mechanical boxing is going to be very different from previous boxing anime that you have seen. But also, it just had that aesthetic. It had that soundtrack. That soundtrack is so Samurai Champloo. Like, it resembles it so damn much. I haven't heard a soundtrack that really made me feel this way since Samurai Champloo when I first watched that. It's so good. It's just the hip-hop and just all the little assortment tracks that they're playing. I absolutely adore it. It really just has a great atmosphere, and I think, you know, for some of the people who may think, you know, episode 1, it was cool, it looked different, but it didn't really feel different from past boxing anime. I think this episode is really starting to establish that it is starting to feel different, it is doing its own things, and it is setting itself apart, not just visually and also having mechanical boxing, but the way some of the characters are acting, especially Junk Dog. I was expecting him to do a lot more formulaic things in this episode. You know, he wasn't bitching that he got a handicap. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm fine with that. This episode was even better than the first, in my opinion, and it has me even more excited than I already was. Like, The opening's amazing, it's so catchy, it's so old school, I love it. Just everything about this series is just so damn fun, but I am seeing a lot of substance here as well, and if it can just keep on the path that it's currently heading in, this is going to be a phenomenal anime. By the time it ends, it could easily become a favorite of mine if they keep up the pace that they're going. Let me know your thoughts. What did you think of episode 2 of Megalobox? Your favorite moment? I think my favorite moment has to be that moment where Yuri actually has to use his other hand to stop Junk Dog's punch. It's just an awesome moment and just shows you that this is a guy who can work his way up to fight Yuri, but he isn't quite there yet. Let me know your thoughts down in that comment section below. And before I leave, smack that like button, share your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.